Hey y'all, welcome to the Clock Tower. I'm Colton here with Brandon. Gameplay for Spy Family. I am playing the 8-bar list with the level 0, level 2, and level 3 combos. Brandon is playing the 8 pants list with the Fiona change package at 1 into the Lloyd at 3.
Starting off, you got to go first. I ditched full 5, so I have a whole brand new hand and a lot more zeros, so this game will actually be playable.
Opening with the 3-5 Yor. It's not an amazing play on turn 1. We like to have it on turn 2. But it does sit 3-5, which can win cross turn. It'll win sometimes. And my hand was full of other things that I really wanted to keep, so the Yor kind of has to bear the brunt here.
That's fair. I do have the back row piece to be able to actually step over Yor, so I actually am able to clear the Yor. I debated how I was going to play out this turn a little bit, but I think ultimately this being the way to go makes sense. I didn't do the mills when I initially played them down because I was just playing it all down at once, so that's what those 4 cards were, with milling out the effect that you have on the Lloyd JC to be able to effectively optionally mill the top card of your deck twice.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend that I love the Lloyd JC. It's fine. It's useful to give yourself more attackers at 0. So if you wanted to, say, push your Brainstormer up to the front row so that you could have a 3rd attack on your first turn, you can do things like that. Because on the swing back, you're going to get your Brainstormer back, just be able to play it normally.
Notably, the pants assist here for the Fiona in the back row, you don't have to ditch a climax to trigger the effect. You can ditch any card and then go through 3 and then add a character based off of the name of the card, which I think is actually really nice. So it actually becomes a pretty decent hand filter, even if you're not grabbing a climax to hand, which I was unable to in this case, right? There was none in the waiting room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it at least gives you the option to try to fix. There's an inherent risk in that. It really only works in the 8 pants list because you're playing, the full package of Fionas and then a bunch of Lloyds. Because those are the only targets, are Fiona, Lloyd, and also the Twilight top end. So I'm at level 1, and on my side of the board, I have a couple of climaxes in hand. I play the JC as well because I also want to get my CX Ditch to my hand so that I can loot my combo. I also have the extra CX in my hand, so I know I'm going to be ditching with that when I get it back off the JC. It's also just a nice way to mill 3 every time you slam the climax for each one of these cards. So I get to mill a total of 6, and I can go get whatever I want.
Yeah, no, it's a really versatile combo, especially at 0, or in this case you're doing it at 1, but you could have done it at 0 too, to be able to just speed through that deck. And that selectivity is actually really impressive with it too.
Yeah, we don't have the good milling level 1 combos really in this set. We have a couple that mill, but not super well, or they have some other restriction on them. So I think that this is my favorite plussing combo in the set. But yeah, so now I'm going to use the JC on your turn to get that CX Ditch back into my hand. Because I'm sitting on a couple of CXs in my hand because I did trigger another one. And then I'll be able to combo again. And that's the other advantage, right? Like, if you double combo twice in the first half of the game, you did more than you would have done with 3 lanes of a regular level 1 combo. And you also got to mill, and you got near perfect selection.
And on the back end, I'm trying to swing my combo back at you, but I have the wrong climax in hand, so I'm looking here, CX swap. I'm like, okay, what can I do in place of that? Maybe I can So I grabbed the Brainstormer to try to CX swap next time because I don't have the stock for it. But still in deck. So I'm like, okay, I can't do that. And I'm looking for potentially like the level 0 Sylvia so I can run Twin Drive to potentially trigger the last climax in my deck to be able to get the CX to hand. But again, all of those are still in deck. So I'm like, okay, well, with that in mind, just trying to figure out, okay, what do I do from here? At this point, I basically decided it's better just to play defensively here. Because you're running the level 0 combo, you're not running the level 1 combo, which means your power line at 1 is going to be still a bit on the smaller side. So I could probably reasonably defend 8-5, which is what the Fionas will be on the cross turn, with 2 of the Anyas. So I end up playing over the pants support, so that way I can try to play a little bit more defensively here.
Yeah, the only way that I'm going to be able to clear that board is if I can get my level 2 combo on the board. And because you're not slamming the pants, it's probably not going to happen. We also both know that you have a bunch of zeros in your deck because we haven't seen the Sylvia. So for me, this is, and obviously I hit the JC like we talked about. For me, this is going to be a tough board to answer because Spy Family's biggest weakness, I think aside from the fact it doesn't have a good level 1 plus in combo, is that it just does not have size at level 1 on attack. Not even in blue. Like, the blue, at most, unless you change back from the Fiona, is going to be, 7?
Yep, 7,
when it attacks?
Not including any of the other bonuses,
Yeah, so, maybe you can get some offensive power with that, but not very much. And in green, you just have no access. You've got a 1-1 that can give you some power, but I know that I'm not going to be able to clear 8-5 in 3 lanes. I also saw you pick up the counter off of the Brainstormer. So I'm just going to kind of surrender board here and just triple combo instead. Get those bars out of my hand. Try to get combo for next turn.
Yeah.
And you only have 3 cards in hand, so it's not like I'm surrendering a massive amount of plussing here.
No, as much as I'm winning board here, I'm also very much on the back end, kind of backpedaling from where you are at the moment.
Yeah, you've had to neg pretty hard to get to this point. So even giving you board doesn't feel completely awful here, but it doesn't feel good. And there's no color in Spy Family that can do anything about this board. So we're just gonna combo. I'm gonna play down the Brainstormer to make sure that I don't go overhand with just my combo. And I'm also able to mill out the rest of my deck. I was, I think, 1 out of 10 in that spot. So being able to get through the rest of the deck is nice. Able to get more combo pieces. But yeah, I'm just gonna have to crash board here. It's my only real option. Try to push some damage. And that's the other thing is, you've got the defensive scry on the Fiona. It's really important to be able to clear the Fiona. The Fiona's not that big, really. Usually you're only going to have 1 Brainstormer in the back row, and it's going to make them 7-5. Even in this case, at 8-5, that's not huge. Most sets have the power tools that they need to clear that kind of a board. So I'm actually able to stick the 2, which I'm pretty happy with, because I know that there's another climax in there.
Yeah, so I was able to rearrange, get the climax off the bottom of the deck, essentially. But kind of going into this, I'm kind of blind as to what's going to happen here. So I do take the damage, but I'm able to still top check at the end of this attack and pick the card I want into hand. I debate here for a moment what I actually put on top. I'm like, okay, I want the event in hand, but outside of that, how would I want to make that happen? Thinking back on it slightly, what I would have done differently on that play there is I would have put the level 3 on top and then clock Drew into the event and the drop search. So that way I can clock the level 3, and so that way when I hit level 2, I have 2 copies of the Lloyd in Waiting Room guaranteed. Just kind of probably something I would have done there instead of the JC here, but...
Yep, and you slam the climax in part because you saw me trigger 3 climaxes.
Yeah.
So I triple triggered. I'm gonna have to play the CX ditch game again, just to have a normal hand and a normal compression for next deck. 8-bar as an archetype is the deck that is most able to deal with triggering a million climaxes because you don't have to pay them out of stock, and it's much easier to get them out of your hand than it is out of stock. Especially when you have like CX stitches that can trade those in for, perfect fixing. So like if you're gonna get rushed and trigger a whole bunch of climaxes as well, 8-bar as an archetype is probably your best bet to stabilize.
Oh yeah, especially being able to essentially loop that CX stitch. Yeah, that's a really good way to get out of situations like that. So it kind of has that kind of built in already. Which is why I think it's really interesting with the 3 combos play that you have with that deck, because I think that having the level 0 combo is important to play alongside the other ones. It gets the last tool piece that you need. Yeah.
I don't think the 2 is enough on its own. And there's another trigger, of course. I shouldn't have swung into the Fiona with the lane I was going to crash with.
It wouldn't have mattered either way. It would have triggered the effect. So it's like,
sure, but I still shouldn't have. I probably shouldn't have crashed that lane. I should have gotten my reverses and then tried to read what was going to happen, if only to prevent chump damage coming back the other way. Because I know no matter what I do here, like I'm not gonna be well compressed because I've got 1 in hand, and I need to hold it, because if I don't hold it, I'm not going to get it back, because I only have 2 copies of that CX. So if it goes into the next deck, I'm probably not gonna see it. And I also assume that I've blind stocked at least 1 here, so I don't even know if this card is a climax. Like, I don't know. I know that I'm going back with 5 no matter what, so... the hope here is that I find a couple of cancels. Maybe I'm able to stabilize with the healer, because the healer does offer a double heal.
I brainstorm here because I'm actually just going to brainstorm twice here just to pay out the CXs that are in my stock and also put me into a decent compression in my next deck.
Yeah, you might as well keep your clock compression.
Go 7 out of 26 back. Like, I will take that.
Mm-hmm. And getting 2 turns of defensive scry, like if you can get a second turn of the defensive top check, the self mocha if you want, like that's actually pretty ridiculous.
And so I debate here, what am I going to do? Because I'm like, okay, I have the CX on top of deck. Because I brainstormed it out. I'm like, okay, if I trigger CX, I'm going to have the Sylvia in play to be able to pay that out. Or if I don't, maybe I can get an extra stock that way. Because I'm looking ahead a little bit here, trying to say, okay, I'm level 2 now. I'm going to try to get the events into memory now. I have 2 Lloyds already in waiting room now. So what happened there? I rest it, play the event, and then I ditch the Lloyd, the level 3 Lloyd, as part of the helmet effect, right, to be able to send it from stage back to waiting room, and I salvage itself. And from there, I'm able to do it again to essentially rest it, play the event again into memory, and then get another card that I would like into hand. In this case, I get the Pants support, because at this point, I don't need a double brainstorm. And the Pants support may actually be helpful here if I trigger Pants to help get cards into hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at this point, you've got two Lloyds that are gonna come on board next turn. So you don't need a lot of resources at this point. You've spent your resources to get the Lloyds to the Lloyd event into memory so that you can spawn the Lloyds out next turn. All you need now, you have the climax. All you need is to try to get to 3 stock so that you can actually use the 2 Lloyds that you've set up.
And so that's what I'm doing here. Just trying to build up the stock a little bit, try to keep the stock clean as much as possible, because it's nice to be clean. Clean doesn't necessarily matter a whole lot here, but I didn't really want to clock it a second time, and I figured I was planning for the worst case scenario that I triggered pants again, that I could actually plus a card into hand.
Yeah, and now you're sitting there, I think 5 out of 14.
4.
The best I can do here is to just swing into open lanes and hope I get somewhere. I'm out a bunch of climaxes. Like I know I've got 1 in stock. I've got, I think, 2 in my hand at this point, so I'm 3 out of 20. So I thought about this one for a minute. Initially, my plan was to try to go to my level 3 combo here, but instead I opt to heal down and brainstorm to try to mill. I hit 1, so I just go get the CX swap. So I swap into my level 2 CX, and I grabbed the wrong one, but I fix that here in a second. So I go get the level 2 CX so that I can mill more than plus. It also comes with the side effect of giving me some extra stock. So I can get out of this deck. Hopefully I can get down to a deck state that will allow me to cancel at least some of what you have so that I don't die, so that I at least have a chance to play my top end.
No, I think trying to stabilize here, I think, isn't a terrible call, because realistically you're trying to... Like, your top end's not going to close from 2-0, so like you're trying to stick a little bit more damage so that way you can actually close me out from there. Yeah. No, I think it makes sense.
Yep. But I also know I'm swinging into 5 out of 14. Like, I'm not gonna get the damage to stick, really. But at least it gets me up to 7 stock. So I'm only able to push you into 2, 3. We had an issue with the video at this point, apparently, and we didn't know about it until we got into recording well after the game had been finished. So, to recap what actually happened, it wasn't much. You brought your 2 Lloyds out from memory, as we expected you to, and then you just slammed the CX and started a combo, so you didn't miss anything. Nothing happened that wasn't what we expected. You just put something else in the 3rd lane, and you're actually able to power over the 8.5 over the 8,000 power level 3 across from it.
The big thing with that was also the ability, because you played over the bond to get the CX swap in play, your board was significantly smaller at that point, so my board actually would step over, which is why I brought the combo on initially, was because I could actually win board cross turn, so my healers would actually take effect here. So I could still heal down at 2 going into the next deck, so I would be back down to 2-1, ready to go. I comboed, because I already had climaxes in play, and I wanted to kind of I was going to play it out because you were at 3-0, right? Like, I might as well just try to push you out from there. The first 3 stuck, no cancel burn. You canceled the swing, refresh point was a climax, and then the burn 3 off of the combo was what ended the game.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have mattered if I had the bond down, realistically, that they would have only sat at 11-5. So you would have been able to clear... the early play, and with your back row tap, I think that would have put you over. Yeah, that would have put you over the other lane. So you would have been able to. You would have won the lanes that the 2 Twilights were in, and still would have been able to proc your healers. Yeah, there's nothing you can do about triggering 7 times. Like, in this game, you got to see all of the different escape hatches that the deck has, because we can get out of really bad situations with the combos and the selection and the CX stitches, and just the bar triggers in general, aren't as bad when you trigger them over and over again. still can't overcome triggering however many times, 7 times or whatever in this game. It doesn't matter what deck you're playing. If you trigger 7 times, you're just going to lose. That can't be helped. At some point, you have to stop triggering. But it is what it is. And also, like, again, Spy Family does not get big in the mid game, and that was extremely important in this matchup in particular. If you're going to a Spy Family title cup, where you have to play only Spy Family, playing the bar mid game is a really good way to make sure you don't take damage, because there's nothing else in the set that can clear that 7-5 barrier with any kind of ease. Especially if you just get double Anya in the back row and make those changing Fionas 8-5, nothing can really touch that. Not more than 1 lane's worth. And even then, that's asking a lot. This is the mid game of choice in a title cup format. It's not going to be as meta relevant just because 8-5 isn't that big in 2023. Even with 2 Anyas, like, most things have access to power pump that can just scale over those kinds of numbers, at least force the backup. But yeah, so that is these 2 Spy Family decks anyway. If you want to see more of Spy Family, we did 5 cards, 5 minutes, and a full suite of decks, talked about all the relevant combos back on Tuesday, so you can check out that video as well. In the meantime, we'll be back on Tuesday with a clock talk, probably talking about how our Spy Family draft went, as well as talking about what got announced for English on the last stream. We'll have 5 cards, 5 minutes for Chainsaw Man next week, and then we'll have more Chainsaw Man stuff the following week with a deck tech and some gameplay. Until next time, thank you for joining us. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and have a good one.
We'll see you then.